MTG Ownage. Hey guys, my name is Matt, you're watching MTG Ownage, and I'm starting a new series here called Finance Friday, where basically every Friday I'm going to make a video explaining some of the market movements in Magic the Gathering cards, primarily singles. I may occasionally talk about some sealed product and stuff too. And since this is the first episode, I should probably explain a little bit of why I'm doing this and that sort of thing. Basically, it's something I already do. I typically follow a lot of the movements in cards, especially the ones I currently have copies of. And I'm talking about paper Magic here, of course, not online. And I figured I'd just start making some videos about it because I think there's a lot of people interested in this kind of stuff. They're kind of like stocks. And as I get older, I tend to try to invest in things that will secure my future better. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So, all right, without further ado, let's talk about this week's market movements. And I guess I should mention one more thing. Despite it being April 1st, this isn't actually an April Fool's joke, although it would be more fitting if I probably released something like that. But no, let's take a look at the cards for this week. And also, I guess just last thing, you guys are lucky. You don't have to hear me yell about sponsors for 2 minutes like every other YouTuber. So hope you enjoy, and let me know your thoughts down below, of course. Let's get into it. All right, I'm also going to try to avoid speculation for the most part in this particular video, but I'll have another series I might do on speculative stuff because I find that interesting too. All right, well, Winota has been huge. Actually, this literally just happened today. Let's look at the tabletop prices. As you can see, it's been pretty, flat around the $5 range and suddenly spiked up nearly $20 more as of just yesterday. And that's a crazy increase. We're likely to see a little bit of pullback as people dump theirs onto the market and that kind of thing. But yeah, Winota, suddenly huge. Ikoria being out of print for a while. I don't know, that's the big one of today, really, is just Winota joining our forces. And all I can say is I saw this coming. It's a very popular card in general and huge in a lot of different formats. It's just a great, really strong card. All right, so what else is moving? All right, being that this is the first one, I'm kind of obligated to talk about some things that moved a lot last week. Winota's huge today, but what else has been moving? Let's talk about it. Also, quick shout out to MTG Goldfish. It's just the site I'm happening to be using. There are many other sites, of course, but it just makes it easy. And it gives you all the charts you want and that kind of thing. All right, let's talk about the next one that's huge and joining or moving recently. It is none other than, well, it's funny that this is the same casting cost. Related? It's possibly related. They have similar on attack triggers, so maybe there's some things happening, but Bruce Taro recently had a huge spike, a little bit of pullback recently, but suddenly, this is the old Commander 2016 one. It actually dropped quite low. Like, I was seeing this bad boy on eBay for around $5, and you can see it here. But if you go back, way back here, you can see it also had some spikes up around 20. Now, I saw this all happen. Maybe I don't know if I want to talk about my own personal holdings, but basically, I've been in on Bruce Taro for a long time after seeing a good friend of mine, shout out to Ryan, you know who you are, play this guy to great success in Commander. I was blown away by how powerful this card is, and I was really surprised to see it at $5 way back here and long ago, and I was like, why is this not a lot more expensive? And lo and behold, it had some huge spikes, and I was definitely sold, and it tanked for a while, but I did not sell during this tank period. I'm glad I didn't, because I don't know exactly what's happening here, but people are finally realizing how strong Bruce Taro is. It's crazy how long it takes people to realize things like this. Like, look, this card's been out for so long, and it's just been for a long time it was a $1 card, and that's why you should pick up these strong cards early in general and just hold them. Don't trade them at $1. If you know a card's good and you know it's also mythic. Well, I guess this was a Commander time. All right, well, Bruce Taro's been moving majorly recently, and that's no surprise to me, but I'm happy to see it because he's awesome. Look at that magical mustache. All right, what else is moving? Oh, I guess I should also mention there's other versions of this card naturally, and there's the Commander Legends one, which was really cheap. This extra one was really cheap for a long time. Like, you could pick it up for just a few bucks for a long time, and it is suddenly naturally spiking as well. So hopefully you got you some of those. A lot of people do, but yeah, if you don't sweat it too much. There's likely to be a pullback as people dump them onto the market or trade them out, because that's how the market moves. In case you're not familiar with markets in general, when they spike, if they spike hard, there's like always going to be a pullback with everything. It's not just Magic cards. Bitcoin goes to 100K, it's going to pull back down to 40k and people are going to lose their minds because it's tanking. But that's just how things, they go up and down. It's normal. So the point is, if you missed out on Bruce Taro or Wanuda or any of these that spike suddenly, don't buy them during the spikes. Wait for them to pull back and then get them. So just FYI, a little pro tip. And also, gosh, I haven't mentioned this, but this is probably the most important thing of the video. I'm not a financial advisor. You don't have to listen to me. Do your own research. This is purely for entertainment. So hope that clears things up and you don't blame me if you lose all your money, because I'm not responsible for your actions. Another card we're seeing some movement on recently is Glen Alendra Archmage. Strong card. It's more specifically this Secret Lair foil version that kind of spiked recently, as you can see right here. I don't know if that's big enough. Maybe I need to zoom it in. But there are still cheaper versions of it. But this one had a pretty big hike of about, a $10 spike. It's pretty large, but you can still get her around 11 bucks and Eventide. This one hasn't really moved yet, but I expect to see it follow. So if you're interested in this card, you can see it's had times where it's spiked up to nearly $40 in this original version. But yeah, looks like it's a pretty solid buy right now if you're waiting, and it's probably not going to get any cheaper. Now, I don't know if I really want to talk too much about dual lands. These are kind of always going up and then pulling back a little bit. It just happens very regularly. But recently we've seen some pretty decent movements on almost all these revised dual lands, as far as, they tend to do this. They spike a bit, they go back down, but they're kind of like the blue chips. You really can't lose out on getting a dual land at any point. And Bayou's kind of been spiking a little bit, Tundra as well. But every time they do this, they go up 10, 20 bucks on the market, and then they pull back about half of that. So it's a slow uptick on these, but they're out of print, they're reserve list. Solid blue chips, basically. If you're a long-term investor, you should probably be getting dual lands. That's just common sense at this point, but hey, I've said it. I'm going to maybe talk about them if they have huge spikes in the future, but in general, this is kind of just a one-off thing, I think. Don't quote me on that, though. Another card that's been seeing some big movements recently is the Meat Hook Massacre. Now, this is really, it sees a ton of play in like all formats. Maybe not old vintage formats, but a lot of Commander play, a lot of Standard play right now. And it has recently just been upticking pretty hard. Now, this is like the cheapest one, I think, but there's some other versions. And yeah, this is the cheapest one. If you get a foil or a full art one, they're even more. But yeah, this card has just been slowly uptaking. A very expensive card out of Midnight Hunt. And probably the card that's carrying Midnight Hunt big time, just because it sees so much play. No surprise to me, this card is clearly very strong. It's played like crazy. What else is there to really say about it? Well, I don't know if I feel like there's going to be some pullbacks. This is in print right now. You can crack them in packs. Wizards of the Coast has got them on the printing press still, in theory. I don't know all about that, actually, but it's not a very old set is the point, and this is a pretty high price for a standard version of a card. I expect to see it tank at some point. Of course, no one knows the future. No one knows what's really going to happen, but I would not be surprised if this pulls back down to like 30 bucks at some time. So if you're really thinking of getting one and feel like you missed out, not likely. It's probably going to come back, but I don't know. Maybe it won't. I could be totally wrong. It's been really strong. It's had very few pullbacks since the inception. Hopefully you got them at 20. I think I picked one up around the 30 range, so probably right around here. But yeah. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about what else is moving big recently. Also, I should probably mention that this Meat Hook movement is kind of old news at this point. It's just that this is the first video, so I kind of got to mention it. And now we got a Kamigawa Neon Dynasty Fable of the Mirror Breaker card that's been moving a lot recently. I wouldn't be surprised if this keeps moving pretty strongly. But yeah, it actually tanked down to quite low, like 50 cents. There was not much going on, and then suddenly it just kind of shot up. So it's crazy that, if this were a stock, if a stock goes from 40 cents to $6 in a day or two, that's like insane. People become millionaires, billionaires off of that. But this is just a card. So the thing about cards, I guess I'll talk about this, because this is such an extreme shoot up in value that you think, oh, I could become a millionaire off of that. But the thing is, you got to move them all. You got to find people to buy them all. With stocks, it's the whole world trading. With Magic, it's only Magic players, and this is a hot card right now. But if you dump them all into the market, it's going to tank the price. That's what happens. So, with that out of the way, this is a great card. I'm not quite sure why it's spiking so suddenly. Obviously, Kiki Jiki is really powerful. This is, I don't know if this is better or worse than Kiki Jiki. Well, the reverse side is kind of directly weaker than Kiki Jiki, but these things that build up to it are quite nice. This little goblin that creates treasures is super cool. You just start out with that thing, so it's going to get you mana, and it does a little faithless looting here. Well, you got to discard first. With faithless looting, you get to draw first, I believe. So, yeah, it's I guess just seeing a lot of standard play, and I don't know if it's in other decks too. I haven't been following it that closely, but I just noticed. And it is a great card. Is it going to pull back down? I don't know on this one. It seems like maybe it'll go back down to 3 or 4 at some point, but I don't know. It might be a decent time to pick it up. But as I said earlier, it's not always wise to pick stuff up during these spikes. But hey, market movements. All right, let's go on to the next one. There's a few more here that I want to talk about. Sea Chrome Coast. This has seen a lot of uptick. I think it might be from some of these recent commander decks just wanting it, but it kind of had some pretty big spikes recently. Yeah, I think a lot of people were picking this up as they upgrade to Buckle Up, so maybe that had something to do with it. But, these cards have always been strong. These expeditions are really strong value-wise. These seem to hold their value really good, so no surprise that Zendikar Rising is a huge set that's probably going to have good long-term value, so probably a decent one to invest in while you still can before it goes out of print, but that's kind of a side point. Really, all these expedition lands, all very strong. All of them are moving. This isn't the only one. We see it all the time with a lot of them. So this one's just kind of a sample of one of them. All right, let's talk about another one that's been hot recently. Another card. This one is an old card. Ancestral Knowledge on the reserve list. Well, I used to play this card when I was a kid a lot, but yeah, it was always kind of a popular card since long ago. Let's go way back. I don't know, this only goes back to 2011, but there was a long period of time here where this was a dollar rare, 90 cents. Not really worth anything. Looks like at some point it spiked to 20, and then at some point it spiked to 30, and then it went way back down to 8, and now it's spiking again. So it's just kind of no surprise. People are going to buy these out. It's Weatherlight. It's never going to be printed again. This is one of those cards that's a great long-term hold because, well, A, it's reserve list, and B, it's actually playable. It's cheap. It lets you sort the top of your deck how you want, so it works great in any deck that wants top card manipulation, if you want to reveal and do special things like Yuriko and stuff like that. So it's just always a playable card. It's on the reserve list. It's 2 CMC. Community upkeep doesn't matter a whole lot. You probably only want to pay it once or twice anyway. But yeah, it's been moving very suddenly, and I thought that was kind of cool. All right, let's talk about the next one. The Kitty, Arbu, Roar of the World. Obviously, it's really strong cat commander in these colors, and just probably played a lot. But this card has not really been worth anything for a long time. What's going on here? This isn't right. Oh, it only shows it on MTGO on this version, apparently. That's interesting. So, not sure what's going on here, but this site just doesn't have it. Yeah, apparently. Yeah, no one really plays this on MTGO because that's what this price is showing. But the Secret Lair foil, here we go. Maybe this is right. Tabletop, here we go. Yeah, it's been steadily moving. This Secret Lair one has been steadily moving up, and it recently spiked a little bit more, but it looks like it's holding around the $50 range. I don't know if it's that big of a card to invest in or anything like that, but it's on my moving list. All right, let's talk about some Kamigawa cards. Otawara Soaring City just continues to climb. This is just a really solid card, and really at one point it was like, well, I guess it bottomed out at about $6, but it bounces anything. It's a land that you can play untapped. It's just directly better than an island. Everybody that's playing blue wants this card. Now, for me personally, this is one of the ways I determine long-term values of a card. Okay, you put some clauses on it basically. All right, and this fits the bill. In fact, almost all these Kamigawa lands fit this bill, so these are all going to have really good long-term value, and especially once this set goes out of print, if they don't print these lands. Okay, when you look at the card, consider what decks it would be in. And if the answer is every single one, then the card's going to have great value. So this is directly better than an island. If you have islands in your deck, you have this card in your deck. If you don't have this card, there's a slot you need to upgrade. You got to get one at some point. They're always going to be in demand. So this is one of those cards. And in fact, it's just like that for all these lands since they come in play untapped. They generally have no real drawback unless you need a lot of basics for some certain reason. Yeah, that's just going to be, the demand for this card is going to be there for the rest of the lifetime of Magic the Gathering. Like 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, people will still want this card because it's directly better than the basic land version. So, and, it's just one of those things. So I wouldn't be surprised if, I don't know, let's hypothesize 5 years in the future. I wouldn't be surprised if most of these lands went up to around $50, $100 just because of that fact that literally everyone needs one. That's a lot of people. Think about the number of people play Magic. Think about how many blue decks they have. Each one of those blue decks needs this card. Okay, I'll stop. But you probably get the point, and that's often how I do my speculating too. If I want to look at something and say I got $100 and I want to invest it in some card, I'll look for a card like this that's way too cheap that everybody would want in the future. And then I'll dump it in 2 years, hypothetically dump it. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I do, but hypothetically, I dump it in 3 to 5 years and like 10x the money. It's very easy if you just kind of have an understanding of this kind of thing. So yeah, these lands are OP. These lands are busted, especially this one because it's a bounce spell. Bounce is always really strong. It basically removes any permanent you want. Anything other than a land, artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. It's basically every permanent. Alright, well there are a few more movers, like I'm seeing Goblin Lackey moving up a little bit, Fury from Modern Horizons ticking up a bit, stuff like that. Uro's been slightly ticking up, Heliod's Sun Crowned, and a lot of little stuff like that. So I'm not going to go into specific details on those because this video is getting a little long, but let's talk about some of the biggest pullbacks, some of the biggest losers, at least, for the end of this. So let's have a look. Here's what I got. I have no flipping clue what's going on with this card. It's so confusing. The tabletop price is apparently $50, but you can buy them for $3. What does that even mean? What do you mean it's $50, but you can buy it for $3? I don't get it, all right? I don't know what's going on with false orders, but there was a couple weeks ago when it was saying it was a $100 card. Now, I think what's going on here, well, this card was last printed in Unlimited, so there's not a whole lot of these out there, although it is common. So based on it being common, there's a lot, but it was only in Alpha Beta Unlimited because it's a confusing card. It basically says change a blocker to whatever you want it to be for 1 red mana. It's actually a pretty powerful card. So I think what this price is on like pristine high grade copies. I think you can still get lightly played and stuff for like really cheap. So based on this crazy movement, it's probably worth picking up some of these light played for $3 while you can, because they're probably going to even up to around 25-ish. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. Maybe this is all just going to tank, but just some interesting crazy spikes here, and I don't even know what to think of it. But recently it's on the loser list because it pulled back some, but what the heck's really going on with this? I don't know. But if you don't have the card, I would highly recommend picking up some cheap copies, just to have them and to play. It's a great card for 1 red mana. In any case, it's playable. It's a playable 1 mana instant. So, and it was last printed in Unlimited, and it's under $5. Kind of crazy low if you ask me. If you can get it for really $3, which you can. If you go on eBay and look at them, you'll see light play for real cheap. But who knows how long that'll last? So interesting card. All right, let's talk about some of these pullbacks. Now, I already talked about some dual lands going up, and now there's some also going down. I'm looking at revised edition here, but Tropical Island just went down about $8, but a couple weeks ago it went up like 30. So this pullback is not indicative of it going down permanently. It's just, when they have these big spikes, they tend to go back down a little bit. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, over and over again. That's the way markets tend to work in general. You basically got to pick a point and get in, and just hold for a long time, and don't sell during the pullbacks. Sell during spikes if you really need to, but in general, holding long term is the thing. So yeah, why this is on the loser list, oh, here it is. Here's that at a massive spike. That was, I guess, last year around this time. had a massive spike, and now it's just been pulling back a little bit, but naturally this will probably happen again. Extremely popular, you know, it's the best. These are the best duels in the game, and they haven't been printed since revised. They got all these kind of weird, I don't really know about these. There's these masters editions and stuff. I don't know what these are, to be honest. Are these online only or something? Not really sure, but yeah, I don't really know what to make of those. I don't, you know, online prices don't really count for me, at least, because it's just a PNG. It's just a picture. Anybody can do that. It's like, oh, you want an online copy? Here we go. Easy. Copy image. Boom. So I don't think online prices really make any sense. Although you could argue that maybe they're going to start doing some sort of, oh, you know, the whole new, what's it called? The crypto thing where you can sell your images. It's not coming to mind right now for some reason. Anyway, I think that's all a big scam too, but if you can make money off of it, good for you. But I personally would never get into any of that stuff. But, you know, the point I'm making is, yeah, Tropical Island's on the loser list this week, but overall it's on the winner list, and it's going to continue to be overall on the winner list, and it's like that for all these dual lands. So great blue chips. Mana Matrix from Legends. It's had a little bit of pullback recently, but overall it's been way up because, well, yeah, it's down to around the 200 range, but not long ago it was sitting pretty steady at 250, and not long before that it was sitting pretty steady at like $70. So overall it's still a huge win. You know, going from 70 to 200 is still a huge win. But yeah, it had some crazy spikes. It is a reserve list card, so you aren't going to see any more of them. There's whatever the heck these master editions are. I'm guessing it's online. Let me know in the comments if you know what these are, because, you know, this is a cool card. It's a big cost reduction. You're not going to find them anywhere other than Legends. So I don't know, but recently I had a little bit of pullback. All right, let me see if I can find some more relevant losers. Loser. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Dockside Extortionist. What is there to say about this card? Obviously one of the most OP cards in Commander to ever be printed. 2 mana to get 20 mana is just always broken. I don't know. You know, I say this a lot in my videos, but I literally I cannot fathom what Wizards of the Coast design team is thinking when they print stuff like this on cards and they think it's going to be fine. Like, can you hire people that are competent? Can you do that, Wizards of the Coast? I don't mean that to be a diss. They have a very hard job and a lot of respect for them, but I don't like anyone that reads this, any Magic the Gathering player that like has a decent understanding of the game that reads this can tell you within 3 to 10 seconds of thinking about it that this card is clearly broken, and it's like that all the time for so many cards that come out. I'll have a video on that later, but yeah, it's just interesting. But yeah, I want to make a video talking more about that at some point. All right, so why is this guy on the loser list? Well, he was at like 60 for a while last year. He spiked up to 70, 80, and just recently he's kind of pulled back about $10. So it's actually a decent time to pick one up, although who knows? He might be in Commander Legends. He might be in New Capenna. You know, since this isn't getting banned anywhere or put on any sort of list, you know, a lot of people think it's going to see a reprint, but who really knows? I sure don't know. No one really knows for sure, but it's probably going to happen. Maybe it's going to be in a secret lair. So anyway, the point with that is with the reprint, generally when there's a reprint of a popular card that was only in one set, it tends to go way down in price at that point. Kind of like Bruce Tarl did, which we talked about earlier. He came out in Commander Legends, all the prices tanked, but now they're right back up again. So in any case, whatever you get Dockside at, if they don't ban it, this value, it will climb in the long run, even though it has seen a little pullback. All right, well, there's tons more cards, tons more to talk about, but I think I'm going to have to leave it at that at this point because this video is getting too long. I think 25 minutes is about my limit. All right, stay tuned for next week. Next Friday, we'll do another Finance Friday and see how things are going. Feel free to leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate you guys. See you in the next one.